Hello, everyone. This is Pragya Devan, and welcome to my show, The Immigration Stories. And this week, we have with us Miss Manpreet Sahota, who's an English and Liberal Studies professor at Seneca College. And on the side, she's a radio host too. In today's show, we'll talk about Manpreet's life and the incredible work that she's doing through her radio show, Roshni. Thank you so much, Manpreet, for joining me today.
I am very happy to be featured on your show. Thank you.
So, Manpreet, right out of the gate, tell me, how did you decide to get into radio? What was your motivation?
Pragya, I have been a speaker all through my life, ever since I was a student. As a student, I got into radio. I did the Yuvani program for youth at the Jalandhar station of AIR long time ago. Then later, I also got a chance to host a television show. And I have been a college and a university professor for the longest time of my life. So I think I've been ready for this role for a while now. As for the motivation, my mother inspired me to better myself at my language, at the expression, and that gave me the confidence to put myself out there and talk. Also, in the GTA, the Punjabi radio scene, I think it has a lot of scope of improvement. I think I fit into that vacuum.
I'm sure
Um,
you do.
so,
So,
so I have been, I've been doing what I do best. That is discuss, chat, listen, present. I think this role was carved for me.
yeah. So coming back to your radio show, you do something which caters to South Asian community in Canada. So how did this idea come to your mind?
The RedFM across Vancouver and Calgary and Toronto, they have a show named Roshni, meaning light. Because my show is in the morning slot, unlike the other two stations, I wanted my show to cater to all categories of listeners, all ages, all stages, all genders, all professions. So I've kept the mandate fairly open. I interview people. I also feature some immigrant stories, success stories, inspirational stories. Um, Also, I have covered current issues as well as soft discussions, but I also have done some hard hitting shows on women issues, on LGBTQ2S issues. And I also have tried to touch that raw nerve where, as a community, sometimes we avoid going.
But Manpreet, as an immigrant yourself, how deeply you think your journey impacts what you do now for the people in your community? Like, is there any story or any anecdote that you can share with us?
I think, Pragya, I don't consider myself an inspiration, but I do think that every single woman, when she makes her voice heard, when she, I mean, voice both literal and metaphorical, she gives something to the next generation, to her tribe, to her sisters. She gives them hope. I have received hope from women of my mother's generation, and the sisters who preceded me. And I feel that we as women, we have so much to offer. It should not remain hidden. South Asian communities, Indian, Pakistani, Punjabi communities, we have brilliant women across the world, across Canada. They are writing, speaking, motivating every single day. And I think I'm just walking. These wonderful women, they hold my hand. I feel I have to pay it forward. So whenever I get a chance, I try to hold my sisters up. I admire them. I encourage them. I tell them that sky is the limit, whether it is on radio or off radio. I just tell them just look up. And as for the anecdotes, yes, there could be hundreds of anecdotes. You don't have that kind of time. But to think that I have impacted lives, it could be a little bit preposterous of me to think, but I have often heard from listeners off air, especially, that they enjoy the shows. They think about what I present. They now understand that there are alternative ways of thinking, critically examining the current as well as the established beliefs. In 2019, I did a series of shows on domestic violence, just as an example. At that time, many women came out and asked for help. Many actually did not even know that there was any kind of abuse going on with them. So they used to take it as a norm, whereas they didn't have to. Because I'm a mother and a teacher by profession, many listeners also reach out to me to discuss their kids' issues, kids' studies, kids' behavior. Now, I'm not perfect, but I just lend them an empathetic ear. And many times they solve their problems by themselves, and I also learn from them. Multiple times, our listeners have also told me that they've started to look at the Punjabi language in a whole different light, in a positive light. But frankly, I think I'm learning. And each time they say this, I tell myself I have to improve further, do better next time, and I always stand humbled.
Yeah, and as I agree, sometimes all someone needs is an ear to
Yeah,
listen. So that really creates an impact. So Manpreet, because we are in the middle of the pandemic, I cannot do this interview without talking about COVID-19. And
yeah.
you're a radio personality. So I want to ask you how COVID-19 affect your world in terms of working.
Because I'm also teaching, so my teaching went online and my radio stayed in person. I think that was a blessing for me in a way. The radio for the past 1 year or so, I mean, all through the closings, all through the lockdowns, radio was my savior personally. Each day I, got to come to this wonderful station, this wonderful office, and continue this work. As for the guests were very accommodating. We would book them and take them on air through phone. It was not perfect, but it allowed us to talk to a diverse stream of guests. No, so many new guests which we might not have otherwise talked to. We got to talk to them. As for the topics, in general, I try to keep a nice mixture of light and heavy, both kind of topics. And I cannot, stress the importance of the listeners enough. They contribute the major chunk of this show. When they call into this show, they enhance the quality of this show. The best thing is that they value this show, this
Yeah.
radio, and they also have through this pandemic stood by us. They are equal partners in the success of the show, and I think pandemic showed us many ways to think out of the box.
Exactly, I agree with that. So, Manpreet, finally, what advice would you give to someone who wants to venture into radio broadcasting?
Confidence, biggest thing. Confidence in your own self is the most important thing. Um, and also understand you will convey only what you have. So be genuine, prepare yourself. It's very easy to go sit in front of a mic and speak, but you need to have a heart before you begin speaking because you're not only a mouth, you have so much going on which you are now going to convey to the rest of the world. Understand that you have power. That microphone in the studio is your power. Use it very wisely, very judiciously. Use it to better your people. Use it to keep the society balanced. Use your voice very responsibly. It's very easy to get swayed into the so-called celebrity hood, but keep your feet on the ground. And if you are just beginning, read, read voraciously, read hungrily, because that is what is going to enrich you. Know about your surroundings, know about your people, know about the needs of your people that you are going to represent, and keep your empathy hat on and rock on.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful advice that you have given, and I'm sure that a lot of people who are listening to us today will get to learn from your journey. So, thank you, Manpreet, for sharing your valuable insight with us. And all our listeners, you can tune into Manpreet's show Roshni, which airs Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. EST on RedFM 88.9 Toronto.
Thank you, Pragya. Thank you so much. And you are missed in this radio. I don't know if your listeners know, but you have been an amazing host. People still miss you here.
Oh, thank you. You made my
Thank,
day.
thank you.
So that was it in today's show. I'll be back next week with another guest on immigration stories. Thanks for tuning in.